Good morning, dear students, dear teachers, dear staff members, and dear parents. Today is a day, every year, one of the two happiest days of my life. So first of all, thank you for making it so beautiful. You will not be surprised, you'll probably be happy to know those two dates. We all know them, 15th August and 21st February. The point is, I'd like to first tell you that this program every year seems to surpass the year before. So therefore, while I appreciate every passing year and your homage and offering on this occasion, this year has scaled a new benchmark. It is impossible to mention every single detail, nor am I competent to do that. But I think every single performance, every note that was sung, every movement of dance that was performed, every word that was uttered, the entire narration was beautiful. What was the crowning moment for me? It might not have been the crowning moment for everybody, but for me, because of the significance of the occasion, was the advice to National College students speech. So beautifully enacted, both in, here and from this podium. Therefore, while I don't have, I was rendered speechless, and I thought that, today I could only give you a thank you, because Sri Aurobindo has said it all. What was particularly moving for me, at least, is that garlanded young man, well, probably a boy, standing here, had a very close resemblance to the picture taken when Sri Aurobindo was actually addressing the National College students. Even the moustache was beautifully crafted, and that was very, very nice. In fact, the seriousness with which he delivered his speech, the eloquence, the pauses, everything was so very good. Can't thank you enough. So what makes our performances so special? Of course, you've all worked very, very hard, but I'll come back to this a little later. Then I'd like to mention the beautiful performance of our dear parents. Again, every year so beautiful, and this year surpassing the year before. So the performance of, the song and the dance around Muktira Mandira Shopanutale, I was reminded of a young boy like you, little older than most of you and a little younger than many of our parents, who lost his life campaigning, or rather for India's freedom. There are many. There are many who lost their lives in their teens, but I'll mention one today, because his act led to the famous Alipur bomb case, where Sri Aurobindo, his brother, and many others were incarcerated in jail. Sri Aurobindo was acquitted a year later, and many others were sent for life imprisonment to the Andamans, to the cellular jail. I don't know whether you can make out who I'm talking about, but the name is very familiar. It's a Bengali name from here, Khudiram Bose. Anybody knows at what age he died? 18. Little older than you. And what did he die? Each one of these freedom fighters, when they died, record says that in the jail the night before, they slept very peacefully. Khudiram is no exception. It's true of many of these. There was no turbulence, no unhappiness, no feeling of lack of fulfillment, that they were being sent to the gallows to be hanged. And when Khudiram died, it was again with one word on his, or two words on his lips, which was uttered here again, Vande Mataram. So I was just thinking this morning, as I paused, that Khudiram died just before the Alipore bomb case began, and that was 1908. All right? And therefore, many years have gone by, elapsed. How would he feel looking at all of us? The India for which he fought, gave his life. So first of all, he would witness a partitioned India. The Bengal he lived in was undivided. The India he lived in was undivided. It was subjugated, but it was undivided. That would nevertheless have made him very unhappy, like it did make Sri Aurobindo, and he said that on 15th August 1947. But besides that, when he looked at each one of us, what would he feel? Can we all put our hands to our hearts and introspect for a minute, including myself, our teachers, staff members, parents, students, everybody? Can we introspect? If he were able to watch this celebration, not this celebration, but the India of today, the students of today, not necessarily the students of our school, would he feel that these are worthy successors of what I tried to do? What do you think? I think he would be in doubt. Because here was a man who offered his life at the gallows with a calm forehead, consoling his mother like many others did, and writing a letter to them, and going up with the phrase Vande Mataram. That's the last phrase they uttered. So would he be happy to see a generation of young Indians behaving the way they do? Why do I say that? We are very different today from the rest of the world. And I will just give you one example. A very common example. I have been going abroad for studies, work, meetings from a fairly early age, from the age of 25. Initially, at every time I passed Heathrow Airport, I was examined, stripped, asked. There was a time I disembarked at Harwich Port, and in Harwich I was asked, how much money are you carrying on you? How much will you spend here? And I've always noticed a stance of disdain and racism, at least in some countries of the world. When I accompanied some friends, and this was in the late 80s, to Yosemite Park, National Park in California, that couple had a little kid who was about 5 years old, and we were driving. We went there and we went up to a peak, and the poor child vomited. No mistake. And there were a couple of other people around. They said they don't even know how to vomit and where to vomit, bloody Indians. I'm not saying that everybody is like this. That is not the case. But what I want to contrast it with is, last year I was invited along with some other people by President Emmanuel Macron to the Élysée Palace in Paris. And it was the month of June. And we were, of course that was not known, and we were proceeding by the Eurostar, that's a train, fast train under the English Channel, going from England to France, specifically from London to Paris. When we were crossing the border, and that's at the station therefore, there are border police from both places. So there was a French lady who helped us so very much. We were whisked with no obvious reason from the line and taken far before. You know why? Guess why? The Ashoka Chakra on my passport. and that of my wife. So in a number of decades, which is not very much, 4 decades to be specific, I have seen a shift from blind racism or disdain in many cases. Maybe many people tolerated, appreciated, but that's the intelligentsia, to a feeling of respect. When we go today to Europe, every Indian, people look at them askance. What is happening? Who are you? Why do they do that? Because India, by all economic parameters, is poised to be one of the most important countries of the world. It already is, but as you would have read in the press and heard on television, it's supposed to go further. But what is the Indian? How do you define the Indian? Any idea? The Indian who they see. How do they define the Indian? So, let me take you to another conversation last year. It happened on the verge of a forest in Rambouillet in France with a South African gentleman who has been living for the past decade and a half in France. And he had this conversation with my wife. I didn't get into it. But he was asking, why don't you stay back a few more days? Because we were in a hurry to come back. And she said, we at work. Then she said something more important. Your husband is well educated. He lived here before. Why did you go back? So the answer was, if you after some time, the thing was, if you come and see our institution, you will see we are no less than anything world class. And then he promised he will come and visit. So the lingering perception remains. Why? You know why? Because young people from our country blindly migrate. They don't know what to do with their lives. What has happened with their lives before? They're watching video games, their lack of focus, parents are complaining that they are helpless, going from one tuition to another tuition to school and back, no time to play, zero quality of life, somehow struggling through school and college, imagining it was just sheer luck, and then finding this beautiful dream coming true, which is somebody giving a visa for you to study. Mind you, those who go abroad to study don't lead exactly cushy lives. They lead very, very difficult lives. But what happens is, once you're an immigrant, your back is against the wall, you don't mind going through the suffering that it entails. So why? And yet, in 2047, not too far away, we will be in the top echelons of the world. A very confused country, not knowing what to do with itself. All right? That cannot be, because we are the world's most populous country. The world has been extremely tolerant of us. Let's not forget. Because whereas everywhere the population is degrowing, we are increasing. I was witness to a meeting with the Honorable Minister of Education many years ago, just after the promulgation of the Right to Education Act, where he was mentioning to a foreign delegation, we don't have enough jobs and we can't create enough in India. We are creating them for the world. So we land up at the world's footstep, imagining they will teach us everything, just having some vague knowledge of English and some functional subjects and being able to cope with computers, let's say, among many other things. Is that enough? Is that the world expects of us? Would Khudiram Bose be happy if he looked at all these young people with so much lack of focus today? With so much lack of focus, can we become Vikshit Bharat? No. All right? The last few weeks, for something that was in India, in Bengal, partitioned, there's been a huge upheaval. It's been named a second war of Bangladesh's independence. All right? First of all, if it is the beginning of a second war, Among the things that were desecrated was Rabindranath Tagore's statue. Why do I just single out that name? Simply because in the early 50s, the same race died for their language. And one of the biggest champions of that language, who gave the nation its national anthem, his statue was desecrated. Why? It's the same phenomenon, dear friends. It is confusion. We don't know who we are. And yet, without knowing who we are, we can get nowhere. No nation has ever risen, no people have ever risen just by being confused. This is what I would simply like to tell you. What sets this school apart from any other school is that at your level, with your preparedness, on 2 occasions of the year, on Sri Aurobindo's birthday and mother's birthday, which I already said are the 2 happiest days of my life every year, we try to share with you an agenda for yourselves, and an agenda for the nation, and an agenda for the world. Because, as you heard in Sri Aurobindo's words, India must rise for the world. Even today, it was said. It was very clear to him, Swami Vivekananda and many others, that India's independence is not for India alone. Indian race is very different. It has a message to give to the world, and the world badly needs it. You look around yourselves, temperatures are increasing, atomic war looming, every single nation virtually on the world fighting some war or the other, like bushfires. Is this the world we want to live in? So, before I conclude, I just want to read 3 lines from Sri Aurobindo to you. Not too much, just 3 lines. Let me just find the page, bear with me, and sorry for boring you after such a brilliant presentation this morning. I would also like to say, as I find the pages, that led by Kavita Bhargava ma'am, our teachers put up such a brilliant performance. They do it, mind you, all of us perform, not only for you, not only for the parents, not only for the significance of the day, but for the person to whom this institution belongs. All right. So I'll briefly read this. I hope I'll be able to find it. Just 2 lines. Free India is no piece of wood or stone that can be carved into the likeness of a nation. I read it again. Free India is no piece of wood or stone that can be carved into the likeness of a nation, but lives in the hearts of those who desire her, and out of these she must be created. All right? It is not by emotion, just by songs and dances and performances, that independent India can truly be independent. Free India must be there in the hearts of each one of you. You must passionately love the country, because you will have no choice. You will be, whether you like it or not, part of Vikshit Bharat. It's your choice as students of the Future Foundation School to be either confused and lost or having plenty of focus. And that does not begin after you leave the school. Many alumni come and tell us, ours was such a beautiful journey, we only understood it after we left the school. Let the same not befall you. Give your parents, us, some more respite, something to be more happy about, be less confused, more focused, and India will truly be free. Thank you very much, and congratulations to everybody once again.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderfully inspiring words. They mean a lot to us. Finally, we arrive. As we reach the concluding moments of our program, we bid adieu to all by listening to a melody which has forever ignited the spark of patriotic fervor, self-sacrifice and liberation in all Indian hearts. Now, I would like to hand over the mic to Satya sir for dispersal. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Parents, can you leave towards the gate? Students, Blue House, start moving to your rooms and come down to the basketball court for dispersal. You take your things from your room, Blue House.